Alrighty, guys, it's that time again already. It is our top 100 games of all time 2025 edition. This is number 80 down to 61. We're doing 20 games a night. Talking about the best of the best, the ones that really, inspire us and have a good time in playing them, and really good games. So we're going to get to them and talk about them. Tell you how they were reviewed in 2024, see if they've moved up or down the list, and if they're brand new. In fact, in this group of 20, only 3 games are brand new, while last time we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 brand new games. So it is obviously the higher we go up the list, harder it is for a new game to get in there, but there's still going to be some all the way up to the very end. So without further ado, let's see what our top 20 games are for tonight. Number 80. Alright, so number 80 was number 57 last year. It has got such an interesting solo mode. I really think this game is underrated. You don't hear much about this, except for when Jester plays it occasionally, every once in a while. It is called Hit the Road. It is very interesting, cool game where it's all resource and management, and you actually have a token in the game that represents you. So if that token is dead, you lose. So it's super cool. Last year was 57. I didn't get to play it that much this year. I think I only played it once. I'm pretty sure I only played it once. It's got a super cool solo mode. Lets you play it. You have 3 lines and of 2 cards each, and the top line has got both of them face down, so you don't know what they are. Second line has got 1 face down, 1 face up, and the bottom one has got both face up. But depending on which line you choose, you have to spend more resources to go down the line. But you also know what you're facing, so it might be easier. Tough, interesting decisions. Your object is to make it all the way from the East Coast to California, because you hear there's a base there that will harbor people to prevent the zombies from getting you. And so your object is to get yourself to California to the base, and that's it. And if you can get anyone else there, great. But if not, oh well. Sorry about their luck. So it's great solo mode. I've not tried this one multiplayer. I don't know how it would play multiplayer, but it plays great solo. Very cheap, interesting game by Martin Wallace. My number 80. It did drop a little bit because just of lack of play. Number 79 was number 32 last year as part of the T series of games. There'll be probably a couple entries on this list that have the T games. And for those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know I love the T games. And this one is Teotihuacan, City of Gods by Daniel Toscani. Sorry. It is a super interesting game. Plays great solo, plays great multiplayer. It is a medium weight Euro game with dice movement on different tracks around the temple, and wherever you move your dice, it increases in power, and you activate the location you end up going on. And you have several dice around. It's very thematic. You're trying to build up, you're trying to get the resources. You can help build up on the pyramids in Teotihuacan. It is probably, just of all the T games, is probably the best user-friendly and best solo AI system. It's not the most interesting AI system, but it's probably the best of all of them. And it's definitely a super interesting game, but it is kind of meaty, medium weight, kind of chunky. You're talking a couple hours. And even if you're rolling the solo bots, there is a great website you can get on to run the AI and tell you what it does and everything, which is super good. Anything that'll help you run that and not have to have little tokens and everything out on the table, frees up some space. It is kind of a table hog as well. But it is super fun, super interesting. different strategies, because you have several different dice you can move. You can move them either one spot or two spots or three spots forward. If you get the expansion, it even adds more things because your priest might be in a location, which means if your dice is there, you can move backwards. It's very interesting. And it just brings a lot of strategy and fun time. It's part of the T system, so it's great. Just about every game in the T system is great. This is probably one of the best in the T system. So if you want to learn the T games, and what I'm talking about with the T games is all of these games in a series of game by Daniel Toscani starts with the letter T. And there's Teotihuacan, there is Tikenu, Tile Tim, multiple other games that you may or may not see on the list. Number 79, Teotihuacan dropped a little bit because, again, it is just one of those games that's like, okay, it's a couple hours, plus setup, plus everything. I don't know, and, I just didn't get it to the table very often. I think, again, maybe only once this year, but still a great game, made it to the list for sure. Number 78. Was number 114 last year. So it was outside the top 100 last year, but I purposely wanted to play this game this year. And in fact, I played first edition. I played the second edition because I wanted to see which edition I liked better and then put my eggs into that basket. I remember playing the first edition a bunch and not liking the second edition, but things change. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, my views on everything have not changed. And it will still be the first edition of Battle Lore. I think it's still a better edition, in my opinion. Again, it was ranked 114. It is Commands and Colors with fantasy creatures, goblins and dwarves and elves and some mythical creatures. It's not very fantasy, to be honest, which is the one downside. They never put the whole fantasy. It's a fantasy themed, but they didn't put the fantasy in the fantasy. Yes, you have some spells. You're energizing them with your cards that have spells on them. You spend your lore on the cards to play them and stuff like that, but there's not a ton. It's not like you have all these fantasy creatures running around the board all the time. Yes, you might have a side that has a bunch of goblins against a bunch of dwarves. So yes, technically these are fantasy creatures, but I'm not talking like, minotaurs and centaurs and dragons and bugbears and all the D&D tropes in there. It's not like that. It's very army centristic, where you got a goblin army and a dwarven army, and they do things differently. The goblins are very afraid, but they also swarm you. The dwarves are very stout in defense, but they don't move very fast. So yes, it's very cool. First edition, you can pick it up pretty cheap. It was, I think, somewhere around $30 or $35 for the first edition. I ended up buying the second edition. The second edition comes up with two different factions that they tried to mix in some fantasy creatures into each of the different factions, and I don't think it works very well, to be honest. This game needs a complete redo with my brain behind it, where, you actually take different fantasy creatures and create it. And I think it would be so much better. I've thought about doing it for years and years, and maybe somebody else has already done it. I don't know, but it needs more fantasy. That's why it did move up the ranks, because we finally got it to the table a couple times and played it, and it plays fine. It just, it could be better. I think, in my opinion, it could be better. All right, so that's number 78. 77 is a staple on my top 100. It's been in the top 100 games all 3 years. It's one of the few games that's actually stayed there because we play it every year. We play the expansions every year. This is a train game, the classic train game that you can sit down and play. We played I think the San Francisco map not too long ago, a couple months ago. It's a small, interesting little map. We also played Poland map, I think was what it was, where it adds rails from when you connect a line between two different countries, you get a bonus. So every time it does things, it adds a new little wrinkle to the map. And of course, I'm talking about Ticket to Ride. 10 million plus sold. Again, it was ranked 31. It's a staple. I don't know why it fell down to number 77 this year. I love it just as much. It just means there's a lot of really good games that are, pushing it down the list. I did play it a few times. We had a great time with it. It is, again, one of these games you can play it solo and it plays fine. You're just playing multiple different people, taking their turns, drawing their cards, making their actions. It plays fine. Obviously, it's better if you play online or with the apps, or there's, I have the app on the Steam, which is pretty good. So anyways, Ticket to Ride. Classic game where you're pulling cards and trying to gather your cards, a certain number of purple cards, so you can build a purple line of trains, or green or orange or yellow, and you're trying to connect all the different cities, and you're trying to complete your tickets that you were given at the beginning of the game. You might need one that goes from San Francisco to Boston. And so if you complete this, you get 20 victory points at the end of the game. So you're trying to figure out how to complete that throughout the game without letting your opponent know where you need to build train line, because if they build it there, you're screwed. You're going to have to find a different path. So, and then getting your paths that kind of overlap one another. Like if you had a path that went from San Francisco to Chicago and then San Francisco to Boston, you could use the same path to almost complete two. So that's even better. So there's a lot of strategy in trying to draw the right cards and the right tickets and when to make the move on the map to put the trains in. So, not to let your opponent know what you might be up to. That is Ticket to Ride. An all-time classic, over 10 million games sold. Great family game, great multiplayer game, great solo game. All around, great game. Number 76 is our first new game. It's a sports game. In fact, it's a racing game that does deck building right for a change. Of course, I'm talking about, when it decides to pop up, Heat Pedal to the Metal. Sorry. It's my number 76. It's brand new this year to us. It is got some deck building elements to it. It runs the AI beautifully. This is a great solo game. You're gonna race with like 6 cars, but the AI runs the 5. You pull one card and it tells you what they do on every single car color. And in the meantime, you can focus in on your card then, and you can focus in on your hand and what cards you want to play. You're playing cards, and whatever value you play, that's how many spaces you move. But you got corners you have to worry about where you can only spend so much speed, or you get heat from your engine into your deck, which, if you run out of heat, then you can blow up your car or wreck or whatever. And there's an expansion we have not played yet, but I want to get back to trying this. It's a really cool game. I resisted it for the longest time because, how good could the AI be? Let me tell you, this game is really, really good. It would be much higher on the list if I got to play it maybe once or twice more. This has got the potential to be top 20 game, 2025. It's got the potential to be in the top 2025. So it's that good. And it's just a matter of getting it to the table and playing it and trying all the different expansions and trying the different tracks and having some more good time with it. It's a great, great game. Do not be like me and resist this game. because it's a good one. Number 75 is, as you saw, I kind of flashed it a little bit, so I won't try to belabor it too much. It is going to be, of course, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. It's a super good deck building game with you use the characters from the Harry Potter universe. As you progress through every time you win the chapter, you move on, you add those cards from that chapter into your decks and into the enemies' decks, and you fight more and more enemies. It's very thematic in the card layout. You would not believe how thematic some of these cards are in the way the game handles them, and how it does spells and how it does the like special powers for the characters. It's a really great deck building game. I didn't get it because I don't know much. I watched the Harry Potter movies when my kids were growing up. I don't know that much about it, so I didn't get it for the longest time. And I'm like, how good can this Harry Potter deck building game be? Another game, just like Ticket to Ride. I'm like, I don't really need another racing game. Blah, blah, blah. I don't need another deck building game. I don't know much about Harry Potter. I probably got it on sale or really cheap on Amazon one summer day. I was like, oh, it's only $20 or $25, whatever it was. Oh, sure, I'll pick it up for $20 or $25. And then if it's a bummer, I'll just try to sell it or get rid of it or whatever. And I got it and played it, and I had a great time. And it was ranked all the way up to number 19 last year. 19, that's how good it is. This game is another game that has top 20, 25 potential. It's just a matter of getting it to the table and getting through. Now, the reason it is falling down this year, hey Viper Dave, how you doing? The reason it's falling down this year is, again, I didn't play it that much. And number 2, I'm now into like book 6 or books 5, 6, or 7, somewhere in there. I'm pretty deep into it, and now you're fighting against all the villains from Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6. You got to go through like 18 villains, which means this game is like taking 2 or 3 hours to play now. So I house ruled and just like randomly pulled 2 or 4 or 5 of them out because I'm like, this is crazy. I do not want to just sit here and fight these guys for 2 or 3 hours. That's crazy. So that's why it fell down a little bit for me. Yes, I love the, defeat the chapter and add the bosses to the boss deck, add your cards to your deck. I love all that stuff. That's great. It's just now we've gone through all those chapters. It's like, hey, hello. Is there any mechanic to get rid of some of these bosses? Don't some of these bosses die off? What's going on here? So it's a little bit longer game now, but don't be like me and resist this one because you don't know anything about Harry Potter. Don't be like me and resist this because you're like, it's just another deck building game. It's got some really cool mechanics. It's got some really cool deck building. It's got some really cool evolution of the game system. And I highly recommend this one. Again, it was all the way down to number 19 last year. We played it a bunch. I think we went through chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6 last year. So we went through maybe 3 chapters last year. This year we only went through 1 chapter, so it dropped a bunch. And again, I'm getting a little frustrated with how long the game is. Because it's like, okay, I defeated those 3 bosses. And 3 more bosses that are coming out. And then 3 more bosses. And then 2 more bosses after that. And then it's like, oh, God. And how much longer is this going to be? So that is my number 75. We're a quarter of the way done already. Woo! Quarter of the way done. I should have brought a drink in to get a drink. But I didn't. I'm not that smart. Number 74. Number 74. We're a quarter of the way in. Number 74. Was number 100 last year. Number 100, just barely by the skin of its chinny chin squeaked in. It's a space game that does a really good job of playing 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 4 person. It has different scenarios for the amount of people you're playing. It is kind of spreadsheety, where you're keeping track of your resources and how much you spend and what your Evolution is there are 2 expansions. The 3rd expansion is supposed to be out this year. Of course, the game I'm talking about is Space Empires 4X. It is 4X in space. It's got 2 really good expansions that add a bunch of nice stuff to the game. I keep setting it up and threatening to play it, but I just haven't pulled the trigger yet on the whole big shebang because I'm waiting on the 3rd expansion to be released. Then you got everything, and then you can just do one with everything in it. So that's why I just didn't get to the table, is because it's just waiting on that last expansion to add, kind of flesh everything out, get it all, get it the game all well-rounded. Again, some people might find this game a little too spreadsheety because you're keeping track of your resources, you're spending your resources, you're earning resources, you're dragging minerals back that'll give you more resources, and you're trying to, conquer new planets, and then as you take your planets, you're trying to turn those planets into new bases and build new ships, and it's all of that exploration and build up and exploiting the resources, and then going out and exterminating the enemy, the Borg ships that come in. They're not Borg ships, they might as well be, but they're alien races. But now with the expansions, the alien races, they'll use some of the extra. You have boarding parties now with the expansions. Trying to think of some of the other special abilities. There's new special technologies you can earn, obviously. I'm trying to remember what else is included in the expansions. But again, whether you get the expansions or not, it's still a great 4X game. It does play in about, I would say, an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's pretty involved, kind of, like I said, kind of spreadsheet, keeping track of all your information, all your ships and everything. But it does do a really good job of exploring, exploiting, exterminating, and expanding. So if you enjoy that stuff, try Space Empires. It's moved up the list because, again, we're waiting on that 3rd expansion, which is supposed to be here soon. And once it drops, we will have, hopefully, the big boy playthrough with all the expansions. So we'll look forward to that. I know Phoenix Knight has played Space Empires on his channel a couple times this year. So if you want to see more of it in action, check out Phoenix Knight and his channel. That is number 74. Number 73 is a sub-game, but it's not the sub-game you were thinking about. It's the old sub-game called The Hunted, Twilights of the U-Boats, 1943 to 1945. This actually is a spot for both of the Hunted games, The Hunted and The Hunters. It is the game by GMT and Gregory Smith. It's all kind of chart-based. You're going to be rolling to see where sub is assigned. You're going to go into different sectors. Each sector you go into, you got to roll to see if you have an encounter. Whether it's a convoy is escorted by destroyers or really nasty ships, whether it's day or night, and then when you hit when you encounter, you will roll to see what kind of ships they are, and each of the ships will be named and the tonnage is named, and it's very involved and very cool system. It plays, I don't know, each mission can go anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, just depending on how much. Like every time you go into a sector, you could roll nothing, but every other time you could roll, okay, we encountered something. Okay, we encountered something. So it just depends on how many things you encountered. Eventually, you'll shoot all your torpedoes and you won't want to encounter anything else, and you'll just want to try to make it back to base. This game does have the nasty, nasty habit of, once you get in this cycle, I call it the cycle of death, where once a destroyer gets on you, it will continue dropping depth charges on you every turn until you evade it. But you can't evade it because you need to roll like 4 or 5 or less depending on if you emergency dived and, how deep you are and all that stuff. So you got to roll like a 405 or less. And if you don't roll that, then he's going to just, do more damage, which causes you to have more, +2, +3, +4. Pretty soon it's like, now instead of rolling a 4 or 5, I'm going to roll a 3. No, I still didn't roll a 3. Okay, and now he's damaged you again, and now you got to roll a 2. And then next time, it's So it does have this nasty tendency of having the cycle of doom of death. Once the destroyer gets on you, it just will not let you go. So I think that's how I've died every single time I've played this mission. I know Tony has died by a plane had strafed him and killed him, and I'm not sure. I think Dean, Rough Swordsman, has died by destroyer and stuff. I mean, there's only a couple ways to die, but more than likely it's going to be destroyer. Number 72, which is very weird and not done on purpose at all. It just so happens this happened. It is another sub-game, and this time it is the game you're thinking about. It is, of course, Wolfpack, the North Atlantic Convoy Struggles, October 1941 to March 1943. We've played this 4 times online multiplayer, a couple times on Tony's channel, once here on my channel, and we've had a great time introducing people. I will say that our War Room show, which I am part of, was part of the designer dedication was to us and for all the support we gave him and all the ideas and, just introducing it to people and playing it and talking about it and doing all this thing. So I do have a personal connection with this game and the designer. Just keep that in mind when I talk about it. But I love this game. It would be much higher up the list if I had a chance to actually play it solo. I just never got a chance to do that. I keep saying I'm going to try it, I'm going to try it, I'm going to try it. But I was fortunate that Tony dragged me into a game a couple weekends ago, so I got to play it online with Tony and the designer and Nerd Workshop, and we had a great time. We played it a couple nights and had a super good time. I cannot tell you how it plays solo, though. This is my one caveat. Put a little asterisk next to this. I cannot tell you how this plays solo because I have not officially played this. For the first time, I can actually say of every game on this list, this is probably the only game that I've played multiplayer, which is crazy. But yes, I played this 4 times multiplayer online, and it's so good. It's so great. And again, this game has top 20 potential, top 30, top 40, depending on how the solo is. But I didn't want to mark it up so far without knowing how it plays solo. So the caveat with this one is the reason it's at the spot it is because I haven't had a chance to try it solo. I want to try it solo, but I just haven't got a chance to because it just literally came out in November, and I didn't have a lot of time. Now, we were given an opportunity to preview it before it was released, and that's why I've played it a bunch. We were very fortunate. The GMT and Mike Berticelli, the designer, was generous enough to send us in a review copy and also give us early access to the Tabletop Simulator module. So we were able to play it ahead of time, show it off on my channel, and we're very proud of that and introducing it to the world and showing it off to the world. And we being dedicated in the game for the War Room is very nice, and we appreciate it. So I do have a personal connection with this game, but I'm leaving it at 72 because I think it's a great spot to start its career, and it's only probably going to go higher if I can get a solo, and we'll see how it goes from there. So that is another new game to the channel, Wolfpack, the North Atlantic Convoy Struggle. Number 71, it is taking a big tumble too. It is taking a huge tumble. This is another one of these games I used to play it 5 or 6 times a year, and now I'm down to like 1 time a year because as much as I love this game, I don't know if I don't love it as much as I used to. I just don't like the effort it takes to put it to the table. There is a lot of glare because the cards and the sleeves, which you must use. This is, of course, called Mystic Vale. This is the tech construction game where you have your card sleeves and then you're going to put your things into the card sleeves, so you have this glossy, glary card sleeves everywhere on the table. Every place that you can imagine, it's got glary cards all over the place. So it's not a very good game to broadcast and live stream. Now, there is an app, and I do own the app, and I have played the app, and maybe I should just do it online so that way it's not as bad. But the reason this has taken a big fall from 14 all the way to 71 is just, I used to play it 5, 6, 7, 10 times a year. You know, once a month I would get out Mystic Vale and play it. And now, I think, I had my... Do I still have my list open? I do still have my list open. I have my list. I actually have a list created that has all the games that I played in 2024. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit find and I'm going to type in Mystic and see how many times. Mystic Vale, I played twice. Congratulations, Jester. You did play it twice. So in 2024, we played it twice. That's why it fell so much. It just doesn't get to the table as much as it used to, unfortunately. It's still a great game. It's card construction. So when you buy something like special ability, you're going to slide in your card. There's a top, a middle, and a bottom. And so obviously, if you have something in the top, you want something in the middle, and you can buy something that has a special ability. There's like it's like Dominion. There's different cards in your kingdom that you can purchase and put into your cards. There is enemy bosses that you're going to add into your decks that'll have bad things on them. You're going to have your own leader that will add special abilities. There is different boards you can play on for the AI solo mode. So there's a lot to do with this game. There's a lot of cool things. There's a lot of great cards. A lot of just fun deck building and decisions to make. It just doesn't get to the table because it's all shiny, glossy stuff. And maybe one of these days it will come back to the channel. But for right now, it's number 71. So, that is halfway through tonight's episode. And I appreciate everyone stopping in. I appreciate everyone watching. If you're watching later on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button. I know you want to hit the like button. I want you to hit the like button. You want to do it, you might as well just do it, right? And also, leave a comment down below. If any of these games you have played, if you like them, if you don't like them, if you go, oh my God, how can that be in your number 67 of all time? Are you kidding me? I hate that game. Whatever. Put a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts on these games are. I'd love to hear it because I like to see how other people think about the games and what I think about them. And, you know, if I say, hey, I do this or I don't like this game because X, Y, and Z, and you go, yeah, that's that. I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't like that about that game as well. So whatever, just make comments down below. It'll also put it in the algorithm so that other people will go and might be advertised to see this, and then they can come watch and have a good time with us as well. All right. Now, without further ado, it is down to 70 to 61. Yes, we're doing 20 games, 20 games a night, every night for 5 nights. 5 times 20 is 100. Boom, done. Then we're done for the whole year. So we've got a lot to do in 5 days, but, you know, that's part of the process. Number 70 is a new game to us. It just was re-released by GMT this year. So it's brand new to us. We tried the intro scenario. It is a World War II air combat block game that was reintroduced. We love Storm Above the Reich. We have now Skies Above the Reich. This is the early war. Storm Above the Reich is 43 and 44. I think Skies Above the Reich is earlier, 41 and 42. So it's a little bit easier. And there's also a combined game where you can take and combine all of them. Again, you're taking a squadron of pilots from World War II Luftwaffe, and you're flying BF-109Es, and you're going in and trying to shoot up the American bombers that are coming to try and destroy all your bases and everything. And your job is to manage your pilot's stress and the damage and your planes and keeping everyone alive and putting them out on the missions and doing all that fun stuff. The reason this game is not much higher than this is, again, I didn't play it that much. And I kind of have a beef with the whole Skies Above the Reich, Storm Above the Reich, in that it's definitely a little bit too much work for what they want you to do. I think it's too much dice rolling just to have you seem like you're doing something. I find like the narrative for Target Today a little bit more interesting, which again we'll probably see later on in the list. This game is fine, and I think it's a good design for people that enjoy that. I don't enjoy that as much as I thought I did. So that's why it's at number 70. It's still a great game. I have to give it credit. Again, didn't play it that often, so it loses points for that. So it might be higher up on the list if I played it more and I enjoyed that kind of game. I just don't, so that's why it's at number 70 and probably will fall off the list for next year. Unfortunately, it's just not my kind of game, I guess. Number 69, this is another game that took a big fall, just like Mystic Vale. This is number 23 last year. This is a super interesting game. It's another medium weight Euro game that I just didn't get to the table because it's like, how many medium weight Euro games can you get to the table every year? I got like 100 to the table and like 50 of them didn't make it. So this is one of the ones that didn't make it. It is Underwater Cities. It was really, really high last year because it has a really cool mechanism where every turn you're playing a card, and the card color is either green, red, or yellow, and it matches the different areas on the map, which are green, red, and yellow, and you're trying to play a green card to a green location, so that way you can activate the location and the card. If your card and your location don't match, then you just get to activate the location, so you're losing half of your opportunities. You're kind of hand limited, and you're trying to build an underwater city. You're trying to get the resources together to build this city. And it's kind of a mini race. And the AI plays good. I've also played this multiplayer up at Origins in 2023. I played this at Origins with my buddies. We all had a really good time with it. And that's why it was probably number 23 last year, because I played it solo. I played it multiplayer. This year, no. So that's why it dropped a whole bunch. And if I don't get it to the table this year, it's going to drop again. So hopefully sometime this year we'll get it to the table and give it another whirl and see if it's still got that luster and see how it plays. So that's my number 69 Underwater Cities. Number 68. Number 68 I actually played twice, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in 2023 it was ranked 177 because I didn't play it at all. But it's still a great game. It is a Lord of the Rings adventure game, and it is called the classic Lord of the Rings. This is about putting out a board and you're trying to go down the path with the characters that that are on the board. So like in the beginning, it's going to be Sam and Pippin and Frodo and Merry are kind of going out of the Shire, and you're trying to dodge the race as they're trying to track you down, and you're moving down the board and going across. And then the next one is like trying to make it over to Helm's Deep, and you're going through several different boards, going through the adventure. It's card management where you're trying to spend cards so they can move into different locations. Some of the cards have special characters that have special abilities on them, so you're supposed to use them at the right time. And at the end of each board, you earn a certain amount of cards based on how well you did. And then you're trying to get all the way to the very end where Frodo has to take the ring up to Mount Doom and throw it in to get that, and not be have the ring stolen by Gollum. And you're trying to complete all that before your cards run out, or all your life and all your characters run out. And so you're managing all these resources. It is an all-time classic game. It's been around for years and years and years. It's been reprinted 3, 4, 5 times. There are several expansions you can get for it. It is what I would call a classic from board gaming, and definitely a game that you should have in your collection. It's super fun. It plays great solo. Plays great 2, 3, 4 people. And it's a Reiner Knizia game, and I did not realize that. But it's super good, and it's very thematic. It doesn't have, unless you get the new edition, it doesn't have the artwork from the movies, so you can see the artwork before the movies came into play and changed the artwork. Because now all the games that come out will have the artwork from the movies, so that you go, oh, I remember that. Oh, I see that. So you can see Gandalf there looks a little bit different than he did in the Lord of the Rings movie. And that's just because it came out before the movies came out. So that is my number 68. We played it a couple times. Really good game. Classic. One of these games you just need to keep getting to the table and trying it out. Number 67 was number 332 last year because I didn't play it a single time in 2023. In 2024, I played it. Let's look how many times we played this game. In find again. All right. And look at this, is just below the last one, like 2 spots below the last one, so you know it has been played twice, just like the last one was. So we played it twice in 2024, and that is the Night Cage. We got the new expansion that was released for this. It adds a bunch of new elements, and now when you fall in the pit, there's a side pit board with this huge monster that will swallow creatures up, your guys up. It's now, but you seed the tiles a little bit differently, so things are kind of more spread out as opposed to just randomly putting them all in there, where you can end up having like a bunch of keys come out too early, or gates come out too early and all your keys are at the bottom, so you can run into big trouble if that happens. Great strategy game where you're always one turn away from death, and every turn you have to figure out how you are not going to die. You have 4 characters. You have to control always 4 characters. So yes, it plays solo, but you're going to be playing 4 characters, which is fine because you're moving a character one spot and you're revealing a couple tiles. That's all you do on a turn. It's not very hard. So you can play this 1 to 5, 1 to 8 people. It doesn't matter. Anyways, you the theme of this is you are in this underground dungeon and you're trying to escape, and the only thing you have is a candle. And you have to use this candle, so the only thing you can see is any tile that's adjacent to your tile. Unless your light goes out, then you can't see anything. So, yeah, that's how dangerous it is. And you have these huge monsters that are running around trying to eat your face. You have pits that you can fall into. And what you're trying to do is have all 4 of your characters find a key as they're moving around the board. And if they find a key and everyone has a key, then you have to find a gate, exit where everyone will be on the gate at the same time. It is not an easy game. The last time we played this, we made it like 45 minutes into the game, and we all got wiped out. It happens. It's a tough, non-forgiving game. It doesn't give two shits about your feelings. If you want to be cuddled with a game, do not play this game. If you want a serious survival strategy game, Night Cage is for you. Number 67 this year. Moved up a lot because we played it a lot. It's a classic. You don't see much about this game except for on my channel. Number 66 is literally a game that was number 64 last year, so it only fell 2 spots. So it's about the same spot as it was last year. It's a very cool deck building fantasy game. We bought a bunch of the expansions. We bought the base game again. And when the base game came in this year, we put it on the table and played it again. Trying to create our own solo mode. There is no solo. Well, that's not true. There is an official solo mode that came with one of the expansions. Which is fine. It's just not great. I've been working on trying to find my own solo mode for it. This is, of course, Thunderstone and all the Thunderstone Advanced and Thunderstone. This is a one spot for anything that starts with the word Thunderstone except for that terrible 3rd edition. I think it's called the 3rd edition. The last edition that was released, which I have played, and I keep wanting that game to be good. But I don't. I grew up on this version of Thunderstone and Thunderstone Advanced Thunderstone, and that mechanism, and that's what I'm used to. And now looking at this mechanism, you can see kind of the flaws in it because, when you kill enemies, you put the enemies in your deck because they're supposed to give you a reward, which all it does is make your deck thicker and thicker. And they don't have much deck mitigation. There's a few cards that'll do that, but you have to have those cards in your thing. There's this whole experience in leveling up your characters, which is a pain in the ass. There's a lot better games, to be honest. I just wish this is one of them somehow, some way. I know there's probably a solo mode that somebody made or some way to change it so that it's great and epic and could be top 10 potential, which I would love this game to be. I just keep going back to it, hoping and praying. Because, when this game came out, it was probably my number 2 or 3 game of all time back then. And I would like it to be again. And I hate letting go of the past. I hate it. And I refuse to do it. So don't make me. Number 65 was number 36 last year. It's fallen a bunch. Again, same reasons before. Didn't play it. I think I played it. Well, let's look at our sheet. How many times do we play this game? One time in 2024 we played one of the all-time greatest games of all time, Brass Birmingham. And I'm going to say it just like that because I know Rough Swordsman is going to go to an early grave saying, Birmingham, Birmingham, how about Birmingham, Chester, Birmingham. Brass Birmingham, the number 1, according to Board Game Geek, the number 1 board game of all time. I actually like Brass Birmingham. I like Brass Lancashire more than I like Brass Birmingham. Brass Birmingham adds this beer mechanism into the game, which gives you some variabilities on your strategy, but also, in my opinion, drags the game down a little bit. So this spot is just for Brass in general. Any one of the games, Brass Birmingham, Brass Lancashire, whatever, this is the Brass spot. It's fallen a little bit, again, just from lack of play. I still played it. It was great. It's fun. The artwork is just amazing. The design is really good. It plays great solo. There's no problems. In fact, I specifically this year, they have re-released the clay tokens. As you can see, they've re-released the clay tokens, and I saw these online, and I went out and purchased them specifically for my train games and this game, because it uses the money counters that come in the game are, not great. So let's be honest, these are so much better, and they look just like the Brass Birmingham design. To be honest, if you go online and look, you will see people playing with these and taking pictures, and it looks amazing. Okay, so I specifically got that. So hopefully this will inspire me to get Brass Birmingham to the table, or Brass Lancashire, either one, to the table a couple times this year. And we'll see if we can get it back down in the 30s or the 20s again. It's a great game, great solo mode. Or I wouldn't say great solo mode. No, let's not even say that. It's a fine solo mode. It's nothing to write home about. It's fine. I wish there was... I guess it's a little bit more involved than I would have liked. It's not as quick. I would have liked to have, oh, hey, this is what the AI does. But, of course, you're playing with all these different locations. And so it's got to be like, okay, it's going to find a city that it owns. Okay, well, it owns 3 cities. And then it's going to build a line from that city to the closest, coal mine. Well, okay, well, there's this one that's 2 spots, and there's this city that's 3 spots. So I guess it would build this one, right? So there's, it's all of that. So the AI is fine, I guess. I wish it would have been better, and if it was, it might be the number 1 game. It is super good. I need to try this multiplayer. To be honest, I do need to play this multiplayer. I would like to try this multiplayer. I'm going to suggest this to some of my people this year and see if we can get a 3 or 4 player multiplayer Brass Birmingham game. Because I'd love to see how it would play. I mean, again, this is the number 1 rated board game of all time, according to all the users on Board Game Geek. So if it's that highly rated, I want to play it multiplayer so I can see the interactions with the players. I love train building games. It's basically a train building game. It's very good. I need to sit down and play this multiplayer and see how it goes. That is my number 65. Number 64 was number 38 last year, so it's fallen a bunch again. Very, very close to Brass Birmingham. It is another T game from the T series. We already had one at number 79, which was Teotihuacan. Well, we know this one's not Teotihuacan. This one, of course, is Tequenu. The reason this is a little bit higher than last year, why it's higher than Teotihuacan is because we played this a couple times, and we played this more recently. And to be honest, I think I had a much better time playing this game this time than in a couple times in the past. I watched a playthrough of somebody playing this game, and it really, their love for the game and their inspiration really was very infectious. I was like, oh, I got to go home and I got to play this tonight because I want to play this game again. And I did. And I had a great time playing it. And maybe it's just because of the video and the person I was watching, and they had a great time playing it and showing it off and talking about it and, all that stuff. It's definitely a great T game, a medium weight Euro game. You have an obelisk that has light side. The sun is coming in, and you have one side that's lighted, one side that's dark, and you have 2 sides that are in the shadows. And you have dice that surround it, and you have to pick a dice from one of the 6 locations. Each location has an Egyptian god that will have a special actions, things you're going to be doing. You're going to be building buildings that'll give you resources, or you're going to be taking technology cards, or you're going to try and build parts of the temple, or you're going to try and add favor to the gods, or you're trying to do all these things with the different dice, and you're also got this mechanism where you're trying to be tainted or untainted. Untainted is evil and tainted is good, but you want to try to be as neutral as possible. It's a very interesting game, very thematic, very cool. I like this game so much. I painted my obelisk. There we go. I painted my obelisk, and it looks super cool. And I love the look. It looks actually, if you look at the cover, mine looks very similar to how that looks. When you get it, it's just like a gray piece, so it doesn't look like anything that's on the front cover. Mine has like a little wash over it, and then kind of some dark into some of the grooves and stuff. So mine looks very much like what's on the front cover, just by accident, to be honest. I didn't try to do that. I'm like, oh, I wonder what happens if I do this. Oh, and now I just need to take my black brush and brush it on. Oh, no, that's too much. And I tried wiping it off, and it just put it in the little grooves. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. Let's just do it that. So anyways, number 64, Tikenu, Obelisk of the Sun. Number 63 was number 43, so it's taken a drop a couple spots this year. It is... Let's see how many times we have played it this year, shall we? We played it 3 times, actually. So we played it quite a bit, pretty reasonably, 3 times. I have a super great college year that I like to play with this game and put some of the college teams up against one another and have a great time playing it. It is called Momentum Football. It is a drive-by-drive summary of what happens. So you're going to roll on a chart. You're going to roll 2d6 and determine if it's going to come off one team or the home team or the visitors. And then whether, their offensive chart or their defensive chart. And then you're going to see what the outcome of the drive is. And sometimes, it'd be an interception or a fumble or a punt or a field goal or a touchdown. Or sometimes it's a big play is needed. You're going to re-roll to see if they make the big play. Or sometimes there's a penalty, and depending on who has momentum during that time, the penalty will go against their opponent. So it's got a very easy mechanism to play this game. It's not a play-by-play game, so you can get a game done in like an hour or less. You can play a whole football game in that amount of time because you're just doing the 12 to 15 drives that'll happen during the game, and you're just getting the outcome. So it can have a problem where it doesn't give you realistic results. It just gives you random results, not based on any stats other than you rolled really high for one team and you rolled really crappy for the other team. I mean, it can happen, So it makes upsets happen way too often, I think. You had to take a crappy team against a really good team, a team that's like 13-0, and another team that's like, 5-7 or whatever. And the team that's 5 or 7 wins 38-10. And you're like, what the hell? That's not realistic. Well, that's what happens. You just rolling random dice and getting an outcome. You're not using player stats. You're not using player ratings. You're just randomly determining what happens on the drive by that. So that's kind of the one downfall for Momentum Football. Still a great, highly entertaining game. Not every game is an outliner. Not every game is a problem. I'm not saying that at all. It's still a great game. It wouldn't be in the top 100 of all time. It is my number 63 just because it fell down, just because sports games in general fell down. I didn't play as many sports games in 2024. I didn't have as much fun with those sports games, and they lost some of their luster. Some of them are getting a little older. There's no new blood coming in, and it's just not a lot of new things going on. So my number 63 fell down from number 43, 20 spots, not too bad. Momentum football. It'll be a game that I'll probably play 3 to 5 times this year and have a pretty good time with it. And, keep coming back to it. My number 62 was number 20 last year. It took quite a bit of a drop, and it's just because it wasn't played as much as it was the year it came out. Good friend of the channel, Herman Lutman, great designer, great guy. Really introduced this game to us. We had a great time in 2023 showing this game off and playing it several times. 2024 just came and went way too fast, and we didn't have a chance to get this to the table except for how many times? Let's look. How many times do we play the Plum? Well, we actually played it 4 times, which is a little bit surprising. No, that's not really that surprising. I played it at Buckeye Game Fest in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, in March or April. I can't remember. I think it was April this year. And I played it with Herman Lutman, and I played it with the Players Aid guys, which are Grant and Alexander and Herman and myself. And if you look at the 4 of us, what's the oddball of that group? It's me. It's like I'm the oddball. What the hell? So I felt very fortunate to be included in that. And I played this multiplayer. The reason it's kind of down a little bit is because, yes, I did get a chance to play a multiplayer, but I've also played it solo. And as a solo player, you have to play for the factions. It can be a little daunting. It can take a little bit of time. You got a lot of characters with special abilities, and they're all running around the map. You're trying to keep track of all the events going on and all the special abilities and all the horrors. And you got all the characters and all their special abilities running around. It can be a little undaunting to keep track of that all by yourself. Playing it multiplayer is super good because you have your one little faction you're concentrating on, then everyone can work together when it's the horror's turn. It is a horror survival game, to be honest, and you're trying to rescue a bunch, and one of the units you can rescue is the War Room furniture put into the game by good friend Herman Lutman for us. The War Room, again, this is twice the War Room has come up this, and we're super honored to be a counter in the game, and you should be very, very cognizant to make sure you rescue the War Room every time you play this game. It is the most important piece. In fact, I have a scenario called Save the War Room that I have designed. I have not released it yet. I might release it sometime once we get this done, where your job is to have the War Room survive the onslaught. And if they do, then you win the scenario. So that's how important that piece is. It's number 62, again, just because playing it solo is a little more daunting, a little more energy than I have in my old age, and there's a lot going on, and you forget about Billy's special power and Steve's special powers and all that. It's kind of like when I was playing Darkest Night earlier tonight. I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot. I got to do this. Oh, the Necromancer's turn. When it was his turn, I got to do this. There's so much going on in the game, and there's so many characters and so many special powers. It can be a little much. All right, number 61, last one. It's a sports game. It's a great sports game. I really, really like this one. It was number 62 last year. So congratulations. It moved one spot down the list. It is Appa Golf. Of course, I have the Game Caddy and Scott, the Game Caddy designer. We've had videos of gameplay. He's been doing and releasing new versions of the game, and it keeps getting better and better. It's a non-integrated, non-supported Excel program that just one user has created to help you play Appa Golf. And I would highly recommend you check out the Game Caddy because it's the best free resource on the internet, the best free resource on the internet for any sports game. There you go. The Game Caddy. It makes playing Appa Golf a pleasure. Now, those people that play Appa Golf and run into the issues of how many times have you count up? Okay, you hit it 200 yards, right 30, 75, 10, 50. Wait a minute, let's try it again. And you spend 20 minutes doing that. The Game Caddy will tell you in an instant where the ball is, and it takes that whole 20 minutes of trying to figure out every shot. Where the hell did it go? Especially on some of the tinier maps with the tinier grids, it's so hard to do sometimes. But anyways, this is Appa Golf. It is a great golf game. It's a great simulation. It is my favorite golf game, I believe. It is a classic, very quick, easy, rolling the dice, getting the results. All the players do play differently. It is very involved, shot-by-shot golf. If that's what you want, you can't get any better than Appa Golf. You cannot do better than Appa Golf. And again, get the Game Caddy and look it up. They have a website. They have a YouTube channel. Check it out. If you play Appa Golf or want to learn how to play Appa Golf, get the Game Caddy. Well, that is our list for tonight. 20 more games off the books. Are you kidding me? Pretty soon we're going to be done with this thing. That's the goal. 5 straight days, 20 games. That's 100 games in 5 days. Tomorrow will be number 60 down to 41. So we're going to be more than halfway through this by tomorrow. We're 40% done. That's right. Thanks, Meandering Mike. He's always on the ball. I tell you, he's such a smart guy. You should check out his channel. He's so good. He's so smart. Anyways, thank you all for stopping by. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe. Do all that fun stuff. Tomorrow will be Friday night. We're going to do it tomorrow night, Friday night. We're going to do it Saturday night. And then Sunday night will be the last show down 20 down to number 1. It's been a lot of effort and a lot of work. And every one of these screenshots I had to create. It means screenshots and creating the image and putting in the numbers and doing all this stuff. It's a lot of extra work. So if you appreciate the work, I would like a comment down below. Hey, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. Or, hey, how can you put the Night Cage in number 67? It's one of my favorite games of all time. Or, how can Ticket to Ride be number 77? It's my number 1 game of all time. Whatever you want to say. Everybody's list is going to be different. Nobody's going to have the same list as me. There's nobody in the world that have the same list as me. I can guarantee that. And that's fine. We all have different tastes. We all have different likes. And I just appreciate it when everyone can see eye to eye and say, hey, okay, maybe you think it's a 76 and I think it's the number 1. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. It's not the end of the world. You might not appreciate my number 1 as much as I do. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you have a problem with my list, the one thing I will tell you to do is get online and create your own list and send it to me, because I would love to see your list. I would absolutely go and watch, and I would absolutely go and post comments about everybody's list. I can honestly say about everybody's list, and it's a top 50, top 20, top 100. I go and watch them all because I want to see what people think of different games. I want to know if I'm missing out on games out there. And some of the games that are on this list this year is because in 2024, people were talking about, Heat Pedal to the Metal is a really good game. You should get Heat Pedal to the Metal. Oh, the Red Cathedral is such an awesome light Euro game. Lords of Waterdeep is an all-time classic. That's why some of the games that are on my list right now is because of what I saw last year. I'm like, I want to make sure in 2024 I play these games and try these games. That's the only way you check them out. And I'm hoping that some of the games that are on my list will cause people out there to go and get them and try them out and go, wow, Ginkopolis. I would have never got that game in a million years because it's got the dumbest name ever. But I saw it on Jester's channel, and Jester recommended it as number 95 game, and I thought, oh, I'll take it. You know, I got it for pretty cheap. I'll just take a flyer on it, and it's a great game, and I love it. Oh my God, it's so interesting. That's what would make me happy. In the meantime, the next thing that would make me happy is to end this episode so we can get on to the next one. Woo! Thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, number 61 down to 40. Thank you all for your time and effort, and I appreciate if you watched. Give yourself a big applause because I appreciate you. I do. I'm just a small little dinky channel, so I appreciate all the views and all my subscribers and all the people that support me. So thank you all out there, and we'll see you all soon. Until then, my friends, every single one of you will remember that I will see you all down the line. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.